Stay curious. Stay connected. Good night.
Welcome to the Gen AI Africa podcast, where we decode the future, spotlight African innovations, and amplify youth voices that are shaping Africa's digital future. And I'm your host, Wangile Filana. Of course, you know, explorers, that I'm not alone. I'm with the host with the most. I'm with Tulani, and today we're just having a chilled conversation, and we are hosting someone who's in the US. Can you imagine? So hope that after this episode, he will go back and sleep. Cause wow, shame. Today we are focusing more on building Africa's digital future through global partnerships, and we are joined by a very special guest. Yeah, I'm so excited, explorers. We are joined by Benjamin Standefer, who's going to introduce himself because I don't want to ruin things. So I want him to take this opportunity and introduce himself. Welcome to the Gen AI Africa podcast, Benjamin. How are
Thank you.
you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. As you mentioned, I'm an American. I've been doing work across Africa for 3 years now. I run a nonprofit called Binary Tree. We do digital literacy education, AI literacy education. We've worked in Tanzania, Senegal, Kenya, South Africa, lots of different countries, and really excited to talk a little bit about what we do today.
Wow,
Oh,
that's so exciting. We are so excited, and we will hear more about the work that you've been doing, especially in South Africa, because we are South Africans. We are going to be biased, and also Senegal and Tanzania. I know that Tanzania is currently doing a lot of groundbreaking work in terms of AI, Africa's AI ecosystem. So we're excited to hear more about your project. As I always say, that Africa's greatest assets are not just technologies, but it is the talent of young people. So we're looking forward to see how do you increase access to inclusive digital transformation in Africa. And yeah, just relax because we are having conversations, and we hope explorers are going to learn a lot from our conversation. Tulani, greet your people.
hello, my people. Hello, explorers. Nice to nice for you to listen to us today, wherever you are in Africa or the world. Today we have Ben. Ben, thank you for that short introduction. I mean, it's straight to the point. Um, I think you've been having a lot of pitches, and you know exactly what to say. So tell me about it, man. When did you start doing what you're doing right now? What is it that you do in these different African countries?
Yeah, we started 3 years ago. It started with a group of friends. We'd all grown up really prioritizing digital literacy, knowing how to code at a basic level. Me personally, my dad was a software engineer, so I learned how to code from a very young age, and it was a really practical skill for me growing up. I used it a lot, and I wanted to teach it to others. So we ended up reaching out to a dozen nonprofits, both in the US and globally. And it just so happened that a nonprofit in Tanzania, Teddy Tanzania, based in Dodoma, reached out back to us and said, "Hey, we want to start a partnership with you. We want to help, gather a cohort, teach some lessons." And we were so
Mm.
lucky to get a quick response like that. We started designing curriculum, working with them, teaching the very first set of lessons that we ever taught. And from there, we started making connections with sister and brother nonprofits, referrals, a student to a student, teacher to a teacher. And before we knew it, we'd accrued over 60 members across the US, either part-time or full-time volunteers. When we started teaching in multiple countries, multiple lecture series at a time, we expanded both to a high school level and to a college and undergraduate teaching level, and just went on from there.
Oh wow, man. That sounds so you've been doing this for 3 years.
Yes.
So do you do it remotely? How do you do it? Do you come to Africa and actually in like Tanzania and do what you like these programs?
We do these programs remotely, but we always partner with an organization that's in the area. So if we're working in Tanzania, we always have a college or a nonprofit or a high school that's kind of our on the grounds base. And so we have usually a proctor from the area working in the lessons while we're working remotely.
Oh, okay, okay. So is it a nonprofit now? Is it a nonprofit company?
It's a nonprofit, yeah.
It's a nonprofit company? Okay. It's called Binary Tree, right?
Binary Tree, yeah.
Okay. Well, why Binary Tree?
It was kind of a funny story. It was just when we were doing our very first lessons, we were trying to figure out what to call ourselves, and we were talking about data structures. And one of our students really got fixated on binary trees. You know, what is a binary tree? How to use a binary tree, and it just kind of had a catchy name to us, and it kind of stuck in those first couple lessons. So we designed a logo and started using it for everything else.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I actually thought when you say it came from an algorithm, and that was my first thought actually. It was probably an algorithm, but how do you then explain that to someone who's never held a computer? Because I think you have experience to some degree that in some South African country, in some African countries, we do have a gap in experience, especially in like the tech industry.
Absolutely. And we've done a lot of different kinds of lessons with people at varying levels of competence. We've taught very rudimentary digital literacy skills. How do you navigate the web? How do you compose an email? How do you write up a resume? Things that are kind of like basic computer 101 skills. And then we've worked with groups that have used computers for years, might even have some programming experience, and then we're teaching much more advanced ideas, usually AI, natural language processing, the kinds of stuff you would cover in university curriculum. So it just depends on what cohort we're working with.
Are you at university or in high school?
I'm a rising university student. We are composed of high schoolers and university students. So when we're teaching at a more advanced level, we always have a university professor that consults and vets our curriculum.
Oh, okay. That's so cool, man. And you're doing this, and I'm guessing you're like 18 or so.
I am, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome, man. I mean, I get the backstory that, okay, your father taught you how to write code, and you thought, okay, you could expand that and you can like teach other people how to code and stuff like that. But why Africa specifically, and why do you feel compelled to do that? Because I mean, you can even do that via YouTube and you can get the same content. I don't know if you get what I mean.
I get what you mean. I think there are a couple of different parts to it. Us originally working in Africa was very coincidental, and that it just happened that one of the nonprofits that responded to us was based in Africa, and they happened to connect us with a lot of other African-based organizations. I think we had a tendency at the beginning to kind of reach out and try and work in a lot of different countries and a lot of different places, and we pruned and honed in on Africa because we felt a really genuine connection with a lot of the students, and because we eventually got interested in African languages, and specifically the lack of online curriculum and a lot of the languages that the students we were working with spoke. And we even eventually connected with Masakane, which is like a Pan-African think tank that focuses on integrating African languages with new AI tools, natural language processing tools. So as we did more work in Africa, we got more and more integrated with networks of African nonprofits and African language speakers and African communities. And so it was kind of like a self-reinforcing feedback loop. And as for like why we did service instead of recording YouTube videos, I think just because my family instilled a lot of service values in me. It's really important to have that face-to-face genuine connection, and that's something I thought I could get better, doing something like this versus recording asynchronous videos.
Yeah, 100%. And I can even tell by the way that you articulate yourself. Like, It comes from a place of communicating with people a lot. Yeah, Bongi?
Yeah, since he was speaking about the project of Masakani, so I wanted him to also um, give us maybe insight on the current new project that he said he's going to start in the Southern Africa with native speakers. If can also touch on that, I'll be so happy. But I'm just so inspired by the way that he's doing. He's so young to be
Yeah.
doing such a great work. Yes.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I would love to talk for a second about the new project we're starting. It's called the Binary Tree Language Initiative. It very much is a product of our working with Masakane, as well as native African language speakers from a lot of different parts of the world. It all started with us working in Senegal, working with Wolof speakers, and us not being able to find adequate online curriculum in Wolof. And so we ended up connecting some of our students with graduate students we were working with Masakane to provide high quality written language samples, spoken language samples, training data, so that researchers could compile what's called a corpus for the language, like kind of like a written record for the language that you could use to train AIs or create references for people doing work in that language. And that became a fascinating project for me. I was really interested in how the languages worked and also the real tangible benefit, potential benefit for students that we're working with who spoke these languages. And so now this project is focused on preserving rare African languages, either by working with Masakane to digitize the scripts, trying to preserve native scripts as opposed to like Latin scripts to like better capture the intonation and phonetic, unique qualities of different African languages. So it's very much in an inchoate state, an early state now, but we want to connect with as many speakers as possible and really figure out how we can make the most benefit.
Yeah, okay. Bongi, I think you wanna take this. You wanna
No,
answer?
I don't have any other follow-up question.
Uh,
I'm just like excited about the project. I hope we'll be able to reach everyone, especially those who are in underserved communities. Because I feel like when you talk about the issue of preserving languages and also making sure that everyone understand what is AI, it's important that we involve communities, rural communities, people from the rural communities, in fact, for them to actually understand what is happening. Because some people, they hear us speaking about AI, but they don't understand, because for them to understand, ChatGPT and other tools needs to understand their language. If I type something in Sizulu or in
mm,
Xhosa, as someone who's residing in the Eastern Cape rural areas of South Africa, I need to get answers like in isiZulu. So I think we are doing a very important project, and we're looking forward to partner with you as we amplify the work that you do and also shape narratives about AI developments in Africa.
yeah, man. I mean, going from your local community band to 10 African countries is a huge milestone. And so I just wanted to ask, is there anything that surprised you from that?
I think the massive linguistic diversity that we've encountered has been a huge surprise and honestly really exciting and at times intimidating. Where I come from, I'm from Texas, and we pretty much just speak English or sometimes Spanish here. But working in South Africa, for example, as both of y'all obviously know, you have 11 official national languages and many more dialects or like blends of languages spoken all over the country. And while
Yeah.
they may technically be represented in parliament or represented in some schools, that representation can vary drastically. And sometimes students struggle a lot, as you were just saying, to use tools like ChatGPT to understand technical concepts when they're being taught in their non-native languages. So, we've worked with translators who are like, translating coding curriculum into Zulu. We've obviously worked with Masakane, who have a lot of, graduate students, professors who are from South Africa trying to compile similar corpuses in South African languages. One of the scripts actually that inspired the language initiative was Ditemat Sadinoko, which is a script that was invented in the 2010s to better capture the intonation of Southern Bantu languages. So that was a fascinating project to us, and we're currently trying to find Southern Bantu language speakers to help test out the script. So if we can record people using the script actively, it can better substantiate a proposal to digitize it and allow anyone who might want to use it to try it out on their computers. But to digitize it, we need people to use the script actively.
Okay, so how can we help with that? How can we, do you need reach? How can you become a part of that?
Really anyone who speaks a Southern Bantu language, if we could connect with them and just have them spend like 15 minutes of their time, like trying out the Ditemat Sadinoko script, like what we've been doing before is like making little drawings and like cartoons using the script, just like showing how it could work in your day to day. You could make a sign, you can make a poster. If you're teaching a class, you know, we've connected with some high school teachers and like they're learning one of these languages, you could have it as like a class project or like a cultural project to try out the script. Anything like that, if we can document those kinds of uses, then we can include that in our proposal and have a better chance at digitizing it.
Okay, that's really easy. I mean, we can. I think we can volunteer for that, Bungi, right? We can do that. I mean, you
Yes,
can take.
we can definitely do that.
Yeah, I would be
We
happy
can
to help.
definitely.
That'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
Is
yeah, because the speak is closer, and it's
and we have people like within the
yeah,
podcast network speaking other languages. So
yeah,
yeah.
Sutu and so on and so on. Like you mentioned, there's like 11 and more. So yeah, it would be great. It'd be great to be
We
part of
can
your
even like
initiative,
get
man.
from
It's so
Namibia.
cool. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And
That was
just
amazing.
yeah. So tell me, how do you make sure that what you are bringing to Africa doesn't feel invasive?
I think obviously it's a learn as you go process. So we had to take a lot of cues from our students, especially in the first couple of courses. So we would have to set the pace based off incremental check-ins like, okay, do they understand this concept adequately? Yes, no, adjust as we go. A lot of it comes from cultural cues too. So one of the things we've learned is we really want to work closely with the partner organizations and get a sense of where the students are coming from before we even start the course. So we'll often have several meetings with like a liaison to like get a sense of, okay, how good is the student's English? What is their prior experience? What are they looking to take away from this course? Are they looking to learn something fun, or are they looking to gain skills to put on their resume for a potential job opportunity? Again, those approaches are going to differ. We also will sometimes outsource translators for curriculum. So when we were teaching in Senegal for one of our lessons, we had volunteers from an international school from the States to come in and speak French and Wolof to make the students, you know, feel better connected with the material. So it just depends, but in general, that's the kind of thing we try and do.
Okay, that's actually cool. I mean, yeah, finding a proctor, like you said in the beginning, to just liaise and be there, and yeah, it makes sense. And it just how do you then go about, I know this question might sound repetitive, but how do you then go about in connecting the two worlds? I mean, your world of having this deep understanding of what you're doing and having to connect with students that really don't know what to do and where to begin and all of that. Yeah.
I think there are two approaches we take. One, we obviously want to shape the curriculum around what the students prioritize. So if we're working with high schoolers, for example, we did a course where it was like introduction to AI for high schoolers, and we were doing this in Nigeria. And when we were teaching there, we incorporated not just the traditional explanations, but a lot of games and a lot of like fun activities to try and engage with the students that we might not include if it was a different kind of course. So we had, for example, a game where we tried to identify the AI generated image versus the real image, or identify AI generated text versus real text. And that was fun for the students because they got to learn actively and they got to use skills that I honestly think would be really practical if they're, surfing social media or looking at, project proposals. It's a way to kind of get on the students level and make sure everyone's having a good time.
Okay. So I'm sure you're aware that Africa just generally has the youngest youth population in the entire world, right? So and one of the key things that we are experiencing is that there isn't any there's a lack of awareness in AI, and so that, and translating the AI or just generally technology into monetary value, is it something that you see finding a closing the gap towards, and just closing a gap in the future?
I think so. I think one thing that's been synonymous through a lot of our courses, especially with AI, is students are eager to build, not just understand the concepts. Like every time we have one of these courses, we usually have a capstone project, something that brings together all of the skills we've learned over the last 8 to 10 weeks. And sometimes we give students some options in terms of what would your capstone project be if you could decide. And they always want to build something. They always want to design an AI. They always want to write some code. They always want to build something, and usually build something marketable. So they want to produce something that they can sell or they could use practically in their daily lives. We had a hackathon, like a coding competition that we hosted for all of our students from 3 or 4 different lecture series. This was about a year ago. And the winning students, they designed like a GPS software that allowed you to track where you were, and had suggestions for, I think it was restaurants and optimal routes. And this was specific to their hometowns, where I think Google Maps didn't have like a great geography laid down. So it was kind of to supplement more of the traditional map apps. But it was a really cool project, and I could see them practically using it in their day-to-day lives. And it just inspired me. And I was like, yeah, this is the kind of thing that I would hope students are doing.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. So is that how you measure impact?
That's definitely one of the ways. I mean, if we're working with older students, another tangible marker of impact is job interviews and jobs acquired. So as for any course we're doing that's not like strictly educational, not for high school or university, it's usually focused on preparation for the workforce. And so we always monitor those cohorts of students 6 months after our course to see, have the skills that we've taught them manifested in job interviews or acquiring jobs. So in our first couple of lecture series, we only got, I think, maybe 2 students job interviews. One of them resulted in a job, but 2.5 years later, now that we've done at this point 17 different like workforce preparatory courses, we've gotten 32 job interviews, and we've gotten 11 different students jobs based off the skills that we've taught them.
That's incredible, man. I mean, that's actually what we look for when you're actually creating an ecosystem like this, is to have real measurable impact. And it's always inspiring to hear someone who's young who's actually doing this and not speaking about it. Yeah. So sorry, you're going to say? Just continue.
I was going to say I feel very lucky to be in this position. This organization was not something we necessarily had planned from the beginning. It unfolded and we adapted, but I'm very impressed by everyone that I work with, and I'm very grateful to have, as good as a team as I have.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. So so you've reached like roughly like 1.5 students, right?
Yes, at this point, between all of our courses, we've reached around 1,500 students.
That's a big number. So I'm guessing that my follow-up question to that was going to ask is, the specific success story to this, but yeah, you just answered me there. The last question.
Yeah, I think Tulani, we can also bring in the Nelson Mandela Science and Technology Center with
Yeah.
the training around introduction to AI.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
Actually,
they are
the
working with students and we are working closely with them. It will be good. And the most important part, because I'm so passionate about digital inclusion. So there are learners from townships and also rural areas. So it will be good for us to see how can we facilitate this training for high school learners. I like the fact that it's for high school learners, not university students, because university students, they have access to information, they have access to devices. So I'm happy that they are working with high school learners. We can collaborate and bring in Singatwa and the rest of the team at Nelson Mandela Science and Technology Center.
oh, perfect. I don't see any problem with that. It's just
Yes, yes. Please, Benjamin, do share maybe a link about the introduction to AI, the one for high school learners. I think it will be better. Unlike these online courses from these other internet service providers that are so complicated and it's complicated for learners to understand this concept. So I hope the content is not too high.
No, we have some very simple courses that just explain basic data structures, you know, how machine learning works, a little bit of
yeah.
the math. And then we even have a course for people who want to understand AI, but don't want to understand like the technical components behind the scenes. They just want to understand like how to use ChatGPT effectively, how to use AI in like my day-to-day like layman's life.
Wow, amazing. Amazing. Because that's basically what we're looking for. We don't want like something that is too technical for high school learners that will end up confusing them. So we're excited, and we're also excited also about your other project, the one for native speakers. So we'll see how we go forward in terms of collaboration. But we are just so inspired by your passion, by your determination. You are so young to
Yeah.
be like, yes, crisscrossing African continent, and you are doing an amazing work.
I appreciate it so much. Happy to be here.
Awesome. My other question is, that what is your technical approach in like um in all of this, like the language part? Is it, are you going to use like natural language processing? And yeah, feel free to be as technical as you want to be. Um,
Let me
is
make
it,
sure I understand the question. You're like, what is the technical approach to the language initiative, or like, how
yeah.
do we?
Oh no, not. I get the initiative, like in terms of like building the from a technical point of view, like building the library.
Mhm. But
I don't know.
you're like, what do we do with the library once we built it?
No. How are you going to build the library?
Like, how do you compile a corpus? Like, how do you get all of
Yeah,
the data together?
file a corpus. For instance, what is a corpus? Um, how do you compile one? You need these tokenization, like NLP. Like, yeah, you can be as technical as you want to be. Just yeah.
Yeah. So the corpus is essentially pre-training for a large language model. So the gold standard is like an annotated corpus, which is, you can kind of imagine it like a digital dictionary that has individual translations of, okay, this is a word in Wolof, this is its English translation, this is its French translation. Again, for a lot of these African languages, because they're in regions where there are multiple dominant languages, it's good to have one of these corpuses that incorporates 3 to 4 different translations. And then beyond having the one word translations, it's also good to have the words in context. So if you know anything about natural language processing, As you mentioned, the first step is tokenization, and it's important for tokenization that you form relationships not just between one word to another, but words embedded in multiple layers of context. So if you have sentences or even paragraphs of quote unquote like language data to include in these corpuses, it results in much more successful training down the road, because as you're going through that initial training process, the LLM, the tokenizer can understand the relationships between different words at a much higher order level. So if you know anything about like the embedding vectors that they form when you're tokenizing, those vectors relate meaning between words. And so if you have a word in multiple different contexts, you can infer meaning between the word and maybe a dozen or two dozen other words to really understand how it's used in the language and context. And that's the ultimate goal of all of this, is to have a large language model or even have a better translating algorithm to understand the language as it's supposed to be used.
Okay. So how do you handle the data set with that? You obviously working with third parties, but how do you handle all of the data set regards to that? Is it hosted here? Just trying to understand a bit of that dynamics, those dynamics as well.
Well, for example,
yeah.
For example, when we did the project with Masakane and the Wolof speakers, our job was acquiring the data in formats that they knew how to handle. So right then we were working with spoken and written data. So we wanted like typed excerpts of language. So that would literally just be text on a file, hundreds of lines of text from native speakers that were the students that we were working with, and then audio files like .mp4s of them saying, basic phrases in their language, using the language in context. And then we sent all those files over to the graduate students that were working on this project, and they compiled it in, whatever way they were working it.
Oh, okay, that's cool. And that data is hosted here. I'll tell you why I'm asking. It's we've been having a lot of interactions with a lot of African organizations, right? And the one thing they always mention is data sovereignty and protection. So I'm just I'm bringing that up, just to have that understanding.
Yeah, it's good to be conscientious of.
Yeah. So so when you're working with like these NLP and you have a language that is not as a low language, it doesn't have a lot of vocabulary in it. So what's the biggest technical bottleneck when you that you usually run into when you're dealing with that? Is it like data? Obviously, it's the data. Is it like compute, talent, or is it probably something else entirely?
Well, the obvious one is that there's not enough data to train on. I would say the nuance there is some languages are easier to acquire data for than others. For example, Yoruba is a comparatively higher resource language when you're talking about African languages, just because more people speak it and there's more resources online. Still a low resource language when you're looking at it from like a global perspective. But if you've seen written Yoruba with a Latin script, they have diacritic markings, meaning like the little lines above the vowels to indicate tones. These diacritics are not, they contain semantic meaning, meaning they contribute to the meaning of words. They have their own patterns and associations that like a competent tokenizer would break down and understand the same way that it understands words or morphemes like within a language. But a lot of tokenizers just completely scrap diacritics. They do not pay any attention to them, and thus you lose a lot of semantic meaning when you're training on Yoruba text. So other languages like that, you're going to have to find better tokenizers. You're going to have to come up with different strategies to deal with those pre-processing or early steps when you're developing a large language model.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. The reason is I'm just still computing that a bit. So yeah, I think I'm connecting the dots. I haven't been working with NLPs and so on a lot, but yeah, um, yeah, I think I get what you're saying, right? So
Yeah, you
with
just Yeah, you
sorry,
just need some data sometimes when you're working with certain languages, when the languages have like other parts to them, whether it's tone markers, whether it's unconventional punctuation. Agglutination is another thing we work with a lot. Zulu is a great example of a language where when you write it with a Latin script, agglutination means you have words that stick together, and you have might have like one big word that has a lot of meaning inside of it. So you might have one big word that has a noun, a verb, an adjective, like the kinds of parts of speech you think of when you're talking about the English language. And that agglutination is harder to deal with traditional tokenizers, because they look for like meaning divvied up between different words. So if you just have one word with a lot of meaning, it might not know how to divvy it up properly into individual morphemes, if that makes sense.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I get you. So let's move on a bit from the technical stuff. I don't know whether I'm tired from coming back from work, but yeah, I just need to get back to learning about this more. It just sparked something in me. Um, anyways, how you dealing with a lot, man, and how do you manage this on a day to day?
Day to day, it can really vary. Some days are slow. We just make a post. We may send some emails to potential partner organizations. Other days are crazy. I remember a day last summer where I had meetings pretty much from 8 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. And then I had some sleep. And then I woke up at 3:30 a.m. in the morning to do another meeting, which was in the afternoon, East African time. It just happened to work for them. So sometimes you have to make unusual accommodations to your schedule because of time differences, but in general, it's not too crazy.
Are you at school?
I have been in school. I'm not in school currently, but it's
Oh,
sometimes hard to juggle with school, but it's not terrible.
okay. As long as you can manage, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you coordinate all these people from these different countries? Do you have like a system?
Yeah, we have a couple of platforms we work with. A lot of times, if we're forming a new cohort, we use WhatsApp to communicate because that's easy for everyone.
Yeah.
Typically, we reach out to sponsors through LinkedIn or email. We
Mm.
have a Discord for our American volunteers. So lots of different avenues for communication.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Bungi, do you have something to add or to ask?
No, no, I'm just so excited about this conversation. I hope, I mean, our explorers will enjoy it. It was really good to host you,
Mm.
Benjamin. I think we should allow you to sleep.
Yeah, to rest a bit. But before we allow you to leave, man, if there's one thing you could share with our listeners or with anyone like on like a first time encounter, what would it be?
I think
About your journey, just generally, yeah.
I think I'd just say don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, as busy as we are, I do, and all of our team make a really concerted effort to respond to any communication, emails, texts, whatever. So if you are interested in any of this stuff, reach out and we'll connect you with a course. If you're interested in contributing to the language initiative, reach out and we'll set you up with a project. We'll tell you what we're doing step by step. We are really good about communication. We're open about communication. We want to help. We just need to know who needs it.
Okay, okay, cool, man.
Yeah, I
That's
think we can also share his details when we're releasing the episode, so that people can actually reach directly to him. What
Yeah,
do you
that
think, Tulan?
yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. We'll do that.
Because it helps. Because sometimes we also get to be very busy, and yeah. So
Mhm.
it's easy if like we also share your profile. In fact, we are going to tag you on LinkedIn and other platforms when we are releasing the episode. And I'm excited about it. I hope we'll have young people to learn some insight about the work that you do. Because you're also a young person, so this is inspiring. We hope to inspire And in this podcast, we are not just inspiring, we also empower young people. So you are a perfect guest, and we really thank you for your time and also your dedication to the work that you are doing.
Of course.
Uh,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, thanks, Benjamin. Really appreciate it.
Good to meet
Yeah,
y'all.
I think we're running out of time. Thank you so much, Benjamin. To our explorers, don't forget, guys, to like and share this episode, and look also for the previous episode. We had a guest from Tanzania, Tanzania, who were telling us, we're discussing the issues of cybersecurity. As we know, that is also an issue that is a challenge. And now, don't forget to listen to every episode, because this is a platform to connect young people and also to empower you as young people, especially in the era of AI. We don't want you to be on social media just to stroll, but we want you to connect you to opportunities and also empower you through this podcast. Until next time, stay curious. Bye.
Bye. It's cut.
Bye.
Uh, I yeah, we're done
Wow,
the.
thank you so much, Benjamin. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Of
We
course.
are
Thank
1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much, man. Your work is inspiring. I'm inspired. Yeah, very, very much inspired, man. What you're doing, please don't stop. Please
I'm
don't
more.
stop.
I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, just keep on doing what you're doing, man. It's nothing short of inspiring, man. I'm not just saying that because I'm just personally, yeah, I'm really
Yeah, and like if we are, you must not hesitate to connect with us. Now you have a family in South Africa.
yeah, feel free, man. And yeah, we'll connect and we'll what's this thing? We'll be happy to contribute on your project. If you have any open source project that you're running as well, maybe you might have to have a look at that. As I did say, it's been a while since I've looked into NLP as well, but yeah, maybe it might be the right time to actually go back and look into it again. But man, this has been nothing short of amazing.
Thank you so much. I'll absolutely share details about Ditema. And do y'all have an idea of when you'll post the episode?
Tulani. We
Um,
normally post our episodes on Fridays, ne? But
Fridays.
I'm not sure which Friday. It's
Yeah,
definitely not the one that is tomorrow.
yeah, probably next week. Or
Yeah, it's definitely next week Friday.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, whenever you post it, feel free to reach out to me and I can share any contact information or any additional information about what we're doing.
okay, cool.
Okay, you can even share the links, like the links of your projects, so that people can actually go and check.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. We are so honored to host you.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night.